Strength is one of those qualities that we often misunderstand, because so many people confuse it with volume, aggression, or the ability to dominate a conversation by being the loudest person in the room. In reality, true strength isn't about shouting louder, it's about standing firm with confidence and clarity. When people raise their voices, it usually comes from a place of insecurity, an attempt to overwhelm or control others through sheer force. But real strength is quiet, steady, and unshakable. It doesn't have to announce itself, it shows itself in the way someone carries their words, in the patience of their responses, in the composure of their body language. True strength doesn't crumble when challenged, it remains grounded, calm, and deliberate, no matter how chaotic or noisy the environment becomes. Consider how many times in life we have encountered situations where someone tried to intimidate us, whether it was a boss at work, a teacher in school, a colleague in a meeting, or even someone in our personal life. They believed that raising their voice, pointing fingers, or exerting their authority would somehow diminish us or make us back down. And sometimes, for many people, it works. Shouting makes others feel small, uncertain, or even fearful. But strength isn't about the ability to silence others, it's about having the courage to stand steady in those moments, to refuse to let volume overpower truth. A strong person doesn't match the shouting with more shouting. A strong person meets it with poise, a clear voice, and unwavering conviction. Strength shows itself in clarity. When your words are anchored in truth and you know exactly what you stand for, you don't need to scream for others to hear you. The message carries its own weight. Confidence doesn't require noise. It requires presence. And presence comes from knowing who you are, what you believe in, and why you will not bend under pressure. In that way, clarity becomes more powerful than volume. Think of leaders throughout history who spoke with calm but unyielding determination. Their voices weren't raised, but their words shook the world because they were rooted in conviction, not in fear. Confidence is another pillar of true strength. Confidence isn't arrogance, and it isn't pretending to have all the answers. Confidence is the calm assurance that you are prepared, that you are capable, and that you belong in the space you are standing in. It is the quiet knowledge that you don't have to prove your worth to anyone through noise or aggression, because your worth is already established in the way you conduct yourself. When someone shouts at you, trying to throw you off balance, confidence allows you to remain centered, to breathe, to take your time, and to respond with thought instead of reacting with emotion. Confidence doesn't mean you don't feel the sting of confrontation, it means you have the discipline to choose your response instead of allowing your emotions to dictate your actions. One of the most striking examples of strength is when someone is under direct attack, verbally, professionally, or even personally, and instead of crumbling or fighting back with the same energy, they stay composed. They listen, they absorb, and then they respond in a way that cuts through all the noise with precision. That's what it means to stand firm with confidence and clarity. It's not about overpowering the other person but about standing so grounded in your truth that their attempts to shake you become ineffective. Clarity also protects you from being manipulated. When you know who you are and what you stand for, people can't twist your words or lure you into battles that don't matter. A person who lacks clarity is easily provoked, easily drawn into shouting matches, easily thrown off by insults or pressure. But someone with clarity chooses their words carefully, speaks with intention, and never allows the other person to dictate the terms of the exchange. That is strength, choosing control over chaos, clarity over confusion, and composure over conflict. Think about the moments in your own life when you stayed calm under fire. Maybe it was during an argument where someone expected you to explode but instead you spoke calmly, and that calmness unsettled them more than shouting ever could. Maybe it was at work when someone tried to take credit for your efforts or dismiss your contribution, and instead of panicking, you calmly laid out the facts with such confidence that there was no room for denial. Those are the moments where strength reveals itself. Not when you yelled back. Not when you lost control. But when you stood tall, unshaken, and spoke your truth with clarity. Strength in this sense also requires discipline. It's not easy to remain composed when someone is shouting at you or trying to belittle you. Every instinct in us wants to react, to match their energy, to defend ourselves with the same fire. But discipline is the ability to pause, to breathe, and to choose a response that represents your character instead of mirroring theirs. Discipline transforms conflict into opportunity, an opportunity to show that no amount of noise can pull you away from your core values. The louder they get, the calmer you become, because your strength isn't measured by how much noise you make, but by how unshakable you remain. Another important element of strength is understanding. People who shout often do so because they feel unheard or insecure. Recognizing this doesn't mean you excuse their behavior, but it allows you to see the dynamic for what it really is. True strength isn't only about defending yourself, it's about seeing the bigger picture, recognizing the weaknesses in others, and refusing to let their insecurity dictate your behavior. Instead of being drawn into their storm, you remain the calm center that cannot be moved. Strength and confidence and clarity also inspires others. When people watch someone handle conflict with composure instead of chaos, they feel empowered. They see what's possible. They see that you don't have to shout to be heard, you don't have to attack to defend yourself, you don't have to dominate to lead. And in that moment, your strength becomes an example, a lesson, and a source of inspiration for others who may be struggling to find their own voice. We often admire people who can deliver sharp, clever comebacks under pressure, but what we admire even more is someone who can stand calmly and deliver a response so precise, so clear, and so confident that it leaves no doubt about their strength. That's what separates noise from power. Noise fades, but clarity lingers. Shouting may grab attention in the moment, but it doesn't build respect. True strength builds respect, and respect endures far longer than fear ever will. The reality is that we live in a world full of loud voices. Social media amplifies the shouting, workplaces sometimes reward the aggressive personalities, and society often confuses domination with leadership. But those who rise above the noise and remain steady in their confidence and clarity ultimately earn the deepest trust and respect. Because when the shouting dies down, what remains is the truth. And the truth doesn't need to scream to be heard, it simply needs to be spoken with courage and conviction. So true strength isn't about shouting louder, and it never will be. It's about the power of presence, the steadiness of confidence, the precision of clarity, and the discipline to remain calm in the face of storms. It's about the courage to know that your worth, your voice, and your truth don't need to be validated by noise, because they carry weight on their own. It's about realizing that when you stand firm, grounded in who you are and what you believe in, no shout in the world can shake you. Respect is one of the most sought-after qualities in human relationships, whether personal, professional, or social. Yet, it is also one of the most misunderstood. Many people believe that respect comes automatically with authority, position, or title, but real respect cannot be demanded or forced, it must be earned. Authority might command obedience, fear might compel compliance, and power might silence opposition, but none of these create genuine respect. True respect flows not from the height of a person's authority but from the depth of their integrity and self-control. It is the character behind the voice, not the volume of the voice, that determines whether others admire, trust, and follow. Think about the people you admire most in your life. Chances are, your admiration didn't come because they shouted the loudest, demanded obedience, or flaunted their power. Instead, it came because they lived with a consistency of values, because they treated others fairly, because they showed discipline and control even in challenging situations. We respect people who show us not just what they believe but how they embody those beliefs through their actions. Titles may fade, authority may be challenged, positions may change, but integrity remains as a lasting marker of who a person is. Authority without integrity often leads to abuse. History is filled with examples of individuals who tried to demand respect through fear or domination, only to ultimately lose it all because their foundation was weak. When authority is misused, when power is wielded without fairness, people may comply on the surface, but deep down they resist, resent, and withdraw their respect. What looks like obedience in those situations is usually only survival. True respect, the kind that inspires loyalty and trust, comes from leaders and individuals who choose integrity over ego and self-control over aggression. Self-control is one of the clearest signs of strength. In moments of conflict or confrontation, it is easy to lose patience, to lash out, or to let anger dictate words and actions. But when someone exercises restraint, when they respond thoughtfully instead of reactively, they show that they are in command of themselves. That self-command earns respect because it demonstrates maturity and wisdom. People are drawn to those who can stay calm under fire, who can listen when others shout, who can remain steady even when provoked. That steadiness communicates a powerful message: my actions are guided by principle, not by impulse. Integrity and self-control often go hand in hand. Integrity is the alignment of words and actions with values and principles. Self-control is the ability to live out those principles consistently, especially when tested. A person with integrity doesn't shift their values based on convenience or pressure. They don't preach one thing and practice another. They don't act out of impulse just to win an argument or gain temporary power. Instead, they live consistently with what they claim to stand for. That consistency is what makes people trust them, because respect cannot grow where trust does not exist. Respect also grows when people feel seen, valued, and treated with dignity. You can hold a position of great authority, but if you treat people as though they don't matter, you won't earn their respect. You may control them for a while, but they won't admire you. On the other hand, if you show patience, fairness, and a willingness to listen, even to those who disagree with you, you gain respect not just from those who support you but even from those who oppose you. The ability to treat others with dignity, especially in moments of conflict, is a hallmark of integrity. It shows that you value people not based on their agreement with you but based on their inherent worth. There is also a subtle but powerful connection between humility and respect. Many people think humility is weakness, but in reality, humility is a form of strength. It allows a person to acknowledge mistakes, to admit when they don't know everything, to learn from others, and to give credit where credit is due. When someone shows humility, they show that they don't need to prove their worth through arrogance or domination. That humility, paired with integrity, inspires respect because it demonstrates authenticity. People don't respect perfection, they respect authenticity. And authenticity can only exist when someone is willing to let go of ego and act from a place of honesty and humility. Self-control also plays a huge role in how respect is sustained over time. Anyone can be calm when things are going well. Anyone can appear composed when there's no challenge, no provocation, no reason to be tested. But true self-control appears in moments of pressure, when emotions are high, when words are sharp, when situations feel overwhelming. In those moments, a person's character is revealed. Do they allow anger to guide their decisions, or do they pause and choose a response aligned with their principles? Do they escalate conflicts unnecessarily, or do they diffuse them with wisdom? These are the choices that determine whether respect grows or diminishes. In any confrontation, it's easy to confuse volume with authority. But loudness doesn't create respect, it often destroys it. People may listen for a moment, but they won't be inspired. They may comply out of fear, but they won't follow willingly. Respect isn't about bending people to your will, it's about standing so firmly in your integrity and self-control that others willingly look to you for guidance. Respect is about influence, not intimidation. Influence comes from trust, and trust comes from consistency, honesty, and fairness. Think of a courtroom, a workplace, a family, or even a friendship. In all of these environments, there are moments where authority may shift. Bosses change, teachers retire, judges step down, friends drift apart. But what remains is the memory of how people treated others. Did they use their authority to belittle, or did they use it to uplift? Did they rely on fear, or did they build trust? Those choices determine whether respect lingers long after authority fades. Another important truth is that respect is reciprocal. You cannot demand respect without giving it. Many people in positions of authority forget this, believing that their title automatically entitles them to unquestioning admiration. But respect given under duress is not real respect. Genuine respect grows when people feel respected themselves. When you show others that their opinions matter, when you listen before you speak, when you treat them with fairness, you create an environment where respect is mutual. And mutual respect is far more powerful than one-sided authority, because it fosters collaboration, loyalty, and genuine connection. Self-control in words is one of the most powerful tools a person can possess. Words can cut deeply or heal profoundly, and in moments of conflict, the temptation to use words as weapons can be overwhelming. But choosing restraint, choosing to respond with clarity instead of cruelty, builds respect. People remember how you make them feel, and when you choose to uplift instead of tear down, even when provoked, you demonstrate strength that commands admiration. Integrity ensures that your words align with your values, and self-control ensures that you use those words wisely. Together, they create a foundation for respect that is unshakable. Respect also requires patience. Building it takes time, consistency, and repeated demonstration of integrity and self-control. It's not something that can be won in a single moment of triumph or by overpowering others. It is built day by day, through countless small choices. The choice to stay calm instead of lash out, the choice to listen instead of dominate, the choice to act with fairness even when no one is watching. Over time, those choices accumulate into a reputation that others recognize as worthy of respect. And the truth is, respect outlasts authority every time. Authority may place someone in charge, but integrity and self-control are what keep people listening, following, and trusting. A person who relies solely on their authority may find that when their position disappears, so does their influence. But a person who lives with integrity and shows self-control earns respect that transcends roles, titles, and positions. That kind of respect cannot be taken away, because it isn't rooted in external power but in internal character. When you refuse to be silenced, your courage can turn confrontation into empowerment. In every space where voices clash and tension rises, there is always an attempt by someone to control the narrative, to dominate the conversation, or to make another person feel small. The act of silencing isn't always literal. Sometimes it comes in the form of dismissive remarks, laughter intended to belittle, or shouting designed to drown out your voice. Other times, it is more subtle, through ignoring, minimizing, or pretending as though your perspective doesn't matter. But the power of courage lies in the refusal to accept silence as your place. It lies in the choice to speak anyway, to stand tall despite the attempts to push you aside, to show that your words, your presence, and your truth cannot be erased. That act of resistance transforms what could have been a moment of defeat into a moment of empowerment, not only for yourself but for those who watch and are inspired to find their own voices. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the willingness to act in spite of it. Fear is natural in the face of confrontation. The body reacts with adrenaline, the heart races, the mind rushes to defend itself. But courage is the discipline of grounding yourself in those moments and choosing to speak when it would be easier to stay silent. Every time someone refuses to be silenced, they are choosing not only for themselves but for others who feel voiceless. Their courage becomes contagious, spreading empowerment far beyond that single exchange. In that way, one act of courage can ignite strength in countless others. Confrontation can be intimidating because it creates a sense of imbalance. One person may hold more authority, status, or influence, making it seem as though they have the upper hand. But when someone speaks up with courage, the imbalance begins to shift. Authority without truth is fragile, and when challenged by someone who refuses to back down, it begins to crack. Courage exposes weakness in domination and shows that real power comes not from silencing others but from allowing space for all voices. When you stand your ground and assert your truth clearly, even against opposition, you not only protect your dignity but you also reveal that strength is not determined by position but by conviction. Empowerment emerges from the realization that your voice has weight, that your perspective matters, and that no amount of shouting can erase truth. The louder someone tries to silence you, the more it confirms that your words carry power. If they were insignificant, there would be no need to drown them out. The attempt to silence is often proof that what you are saying cuts deeply, that it challenges the comfort of those who would rather not hear it. Refusing to be silenced transforms that dynamic. It takes the energy of confrontation and redirects it into a statement of resilience. Instead of being a victim of the situation, you become the author of the moment, showing that control lies not with those who try to suppress, but with those who persist. Consider the moments in history where individuals refused to be silenced. Every great movement for justice, equality, and change has been powered by people who chose courage over silence. They faced ridicule, threats, and even violence, yet they stood their ground. Their voices became louder not through shouting, but through persistence and resilience. That is the essence of empowerment, knowing that your refusal to yield in one moment can ripple outward, inspiring others to do the same in their own battles. When one person speaks up, it opens the door for others to recognize that they too have the right to speak, the right to be heard, and the right to stand unshaken in their truth. Empowerment is not just personal, it is collective. When someone displays courage in the face of confrontation, they send a message to everyone watching: you don't have to accept silence either. That message resonates deeply, because so many people carry experiences of being dismissed or ignored. Watching someone else rise in the face of opposition plants a seed in their hearts, reminding them that they too have strength. That they too can resist. The act of one person refusing to be silenced can turn into a wave of empowerment that changes not just conversations, but entire cultures. The refusal to be silenced is also an act of self-respect. It is a declaration that your perspective is valid, that your experiences are worthy, and that your truth deserves to exist in the world. Every time you choose to speak, even when it's difficult, you affirm your own worth. That affirmation grows stronger with each act of courage, building a foundation of empowerment that becomes unshakable. The more you practice standing firm, the more natural it becomes to refuse silence, until your courage becomes second nature, an inseparable part of who you are. Confrontation, though uncomfortable, is often the stage where empowerment is born. Without confrontation, courage has no test, and empowerment has no spark. It is in the moments when someone tries to silence you that your decision to speak matters most. Silence in those moments can reinforce the dominance of others, but courage in those moments breaks cycles, challenges patterns, and redefines the balance of power. By refusing to be silenced, you turn confrontation into a proving ground for strength. Each time you rise to the occasion, you sharpen your voice, strengthen your resolve, and expand your influence. Empowerment also comes from knowing that your voice does not have to be perfect to be powerful. Many people remain silent because they fear stumbling over words, making mistakes, or not sounding polished enough. But empowerment is not about perfection, it is about presence. Even if your voice shakes, even if your words aren't flawless, the act of speaking is itself an act of defiance against silence. That defiance is where courage shows its true form. When others see you speak through fear, they recognize that they too can step forward despite their doubts. Courage dismantles the myth that only the flawless can be heard. It proves that authenticity carries more power than perfection ever could. There is also a profound psychological shift that happens when you refuse to be silenced. Instead of seeing confrontation as something that diminishes you, you begin to see it as an opportunity to strengthen yourself. Each time you face opposition and choose courage, you rewire your own perception of what you're capable of. You begin to trust your voice more, to rely on your inner strength, and to understand that you can withstand pressure without breaking. Over time, this shift builds confidence that extends into every area of your life, creating a sense of empowerment that doesn't depend on circumstances but on the resilience you've cultivated within yourself. It is important to recognize that silence often benefits those who want to maintain control. When you remain silent, you make it easier for others to keep power unchallenged. But when you speak, you disrupt the comfort of those who rely on suppression. Refusing to be silenced is a way of reclaiming power that was never truly theirs to begin with. It is reclaiming your right to exist fully, to participate fully, and to be acknowledged fully. That act of reclamation is one of the purest forms of empowerment, because it is not given by anyone else, it is claimed by you, through courage. Empowerment through courage also creates a lasting impression. People may forget the exact words you said in a confrontation, but they will not forget the fact that you stood up, that you spoke, that you refused to bow down. They will remember the image of your courage, and that memory can echo far beyond the moment. It can inspire future conversations, decisions, and actions, planting seeds of empowerment in places you may never see. The courage to refuse silence becomes part of a legacy, carried forward by those who witnessed it and were changed by it. Courage, when practiced consistently, becomes identity. At first, refusing to be silenced may feel like a struggle, a battle with fear and doubt. But over time, as you continue to step forward, courage becomes the natural expression of who you are. It becomes inseparable from your voice and presence. That transformation from fear to courage to empowerment is one of the most powerful journeys a person can take. It turns confrontation, something many people dread, into an opportunity to declare strength and to inspire others.